Hi everyone. So this is a catch-up video after the conference has already been posted, the Happy Parent, Happy Child 2022 conference. We've got Carolina here and a couple of people from the group who've also produced and shared their content. Today we're going to go through a little bit about each of our talks. We're going to do a Q&A session so that you can get an idea of what you're going to receive if you watch the talk and how this might change your life and the balance and settled nature of your family and parenting situation. So we're going to start with Carolina. She's going to explain to us what the conference is all about, why she put it on, and how it's going to impact you with dramatic effect. Please, Carolina, let us know all about the conference. Thanks so much for organizing it. Take it away.
Hi, thank you, Robin, for introducing all this, and thank you everybody for participating. Basically, the idea of the conference came to me during the lockdown when I have been approached by several parents asking me for advice about homeschooling, about sibling rivalry, and many other topics. And I haven't been able to answer all questions. So I decided to gather experts that can give advice and support and help about a broad variety of topics that may pop up in your parenting and family life whilst your children grow up, because different problems occur when they are little and very different when they are older. So last year I organized the first conference, and this year it was the second one already. And my topic was mindfulness in parenting, because it is a very interesting juggle that you need to be present for your child and really seeing the behavior, the emotions that the child has and displays and feels, and then feel what you feel, but maybe not necessarily to react as you would if you are not conscious. And the third part is to be conscious of your goal. You are not just sorting a situation right now. You need to have in your mind an adult that you are bringing up. So just helping a child is not necessarily a good thing. Encouraging to find a solution is a better thing, even if you are maybe nervous and in a hurry or the child is crying. So I talk about how to manage that juggle and how to be aware of that whole concept of bringing up a child. So that was Carolina Cosa, a family coach.
Excellent. Thank you. It's really useful to hear that. I think before we do any Q&As, can we go around the room and hear from everybody about your talk, what your talk was about, who you hope will watch it, and what you hope that they'll receive from seeing your talk. Can we start with Sue?
Hi, yes. So I'm Sue Ritchie and I'm the fertility coach, and my talk's all about preparing for conception, the keys to increasing your success. And one of the things that I'm passionate about is really, helping couples to really understand that by taking the time in advance before, once you've decided that you want to have a baby, allowing time to really prepare yourself for conception. And I think a lot of people don't realize that trying to conceive and being able to conceive is not just about the physical reproductive bits. There are many areas that actually have an impact on fertility and being able to conceive. And some of these, might be surprising to some people. And so my talk really talks about all of those different areas, if you like. And one of the things that, I think that we tend not to think about when we, get to the point of deciding that we want to have a family is that our health and well-being physically and mentally, the healthier we are at the time of conception, both for both men and women, the more likely we are to have a healthy baby. And, that's something that I think we should, take responsibility for and to consider, because we really do want to bring children into the world that start off life healthy, because in those first few months is when the whole picture, if you like, of health is set for adulthood. So it is a key thing to really consider. And I also are sharing really about why it's important to, and I love to see couples really stepping up to really put themselves first, taking care of their health and their well-being, being in that place of having a positive mindset so that they can actually handle life's ups and downs in a good way, in a positive way, because our children learn by modeling our behavior rather than actually what comes out of our mouths. So if we're in that good place, we're healthy, we're looking after ourselves, we're taking care of ourselves before we conceive, we've got that in place to really bring a child into a world where you're enjoying your family life to the utmost, to the best. So so that's really what I'm about. Sue Ritchie, the fertility coach.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That's really interesting. Can we go to Jill next?
Yes, thanks, Rupin. So I'm Jill Mackay and I'm a sobriety coach. My talk was all about how drinking in front of our children regularly can erode our relationship with our kids, often in really subtle ways that we don't really understand. So the purpose of the talk was to help to build awareness about how something that's so enmeshed in our society, such as drinking alcohol, how it can have an effect on that modeling, exactly what Sue was talking about before, how it can have an effect on our children. And I introduced during the talk some research from the Institute of Alcohol Studies that surveyed both parents and children, teenagers and younger, of parents who were drinking below the government minimum guidelines, so even below that level, and the impact that the children's observations had on them. So it's very interesting. I talked also about my own experience. I now have young adult kids and their experience of watching their mum drinking a bottle of wine every night. And so it was all about really building awareness and what we can do in terms of positive role modeling and really not glamorizing alcohol, but being really conscious and teaching our children about its role and its role in health.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jill. And can we go, Olive? Can you speak to us next?
Hello.
Hi, we can hear you, Olive.
Right. I'm Olive Hickmott. I'm a forensic health and learning coach. So I spend my time exploring why people have got various health challenges and learning difficulties. And my talk that I gave for this conference was, could parents stop children dropping into dyslexia? And that's a pretty controversial thing to say, at the least, because most people think they're absolutely stuck with it. And there is absolutely no reason why you should be able to avoid it. But after 22 years of teaching diagnosed dyslexics how to use their strengths, which are typically being highly visual, and they've got great pictures in their head, and having taught them how to use those pictures in their head to visualize words, I thought, this is ridiculous, because if I was teaching this to 4-year-olds, firstly, they're highly visual, and so they would find it really easy. And secondly, this is the one common thing with the thousands of people that I have seen that helps people, dyslexics, learn to spell and read and do numeracy. And there is no power on earth, as far as I can see, why they can't all do this when they've learnt the right skill. It's a bit like, somebody described it to me as when you have to wear glasses, and what can you do if you're not wearing glasses? Well, this is the same thing. If the kids haven't got the right strategies, then they will find it very difficult to spell and read, particularly in the English language. So that's what I do. And we are hoping to find more and more 3- and 4-year-olds to join this mission of mine, because I've been trying for many years to get schools to change, but they have to teach phonics in reception year. But if you think of phonics and how words get divided down into tiny little bits, they need to be able to visualize the word to be able to put those bits together, not have all the bits to start with and then move on to visualizing later. So that's what I do.
Great, thank you. Stella, next, please.
Yeah, my name is Stella. I'm a confidence coach and trainer to young people, and I'm the founder of the Lioness Within community. And our passion is promoting mental health and well-being in young people. There is so much pressure on them, particularly young girls, to conform to a certain body image and body shape to be considered attractive. And studies show that young people actually care more about looking good than they do about their physical health, which then puts a pressure on their mental health, because they spend so much time worrying about their appearance that they end up feeling very insecure about it and very self-conscious about it. So we have a resilience and confidence building program that we take into schools. And one of the topics that we provide in that program is all around setting goals. So my topic was actually helping your child to set goals and achieve them. And so I talked about what setting goal was all about. I mean, it's very, very important for children and particularly young people, teenagers, to be focused on their purpose. Because if they are focused on their purpose, then they're not worrying so much about how many friends they have on Instagram and how many likes they get, because they are focused on something that they want to achieve. And as parents, we very often hear our kids go, oh, I wish I could do this. Oh, I wish I could do that. I wish I could be like this. I wish I could look like that. Well, if you teach them how to set goals, they can actually achieve that thing that they wish they could do. If your child ever said to you, oh, I wish I could be a model, or I wish I could be an air pilot, and you can get them to start setting goals from now to achieve that vision that they have for much later in their life. And that's basically what I talked about. So I explained the meaning of goals and what a goal is and what a goal is not, because very often people get them mixed up. A goal is not the same as a wish. A goal is not the same as a vision. A goal is not the same as a dream. A goal has to be specific, and it's important to help children to realize that. If your child says that they want a game for Christmas, what sort of game do they want? What sort of game console do they want? Is it an Xbox? Is it a Nintendo Switch? There are so many of them. What color is it that they want? And then what are they prepared to do to achieve that goal? Are they prepared to perhaps do some extra work around the house, maybe help with mowing the lawn, maybe babysit the neighbor's child, or walk the neighbor's dog, or wash their car? You know, what are they prepared to do to earn a bit more cash? Maybe if you agree with them that if they come up with half the money for the game, then you can provide the other half. Or maybe if they come up with a quarter of it or a third of it. So it's important to have these conversations with your children so that they are more focused on what they want to achieve in life. And they start setting goals very early in life. This will help them to build the habit to carry on setting goals later in their lives. And so the people who would benefit from my topic really are parents, particularly parents of teenagers. And if they can get their teenagers to also listen with them, then that would be great for them.
Fantastic. Thank you, Stella. So I'll go next. My name is Rupin. I am a conscious parenting coach, a YouTuber, and I teach meditation. And the specific type of meditation is inner child healing meditation that I guide for my clients and teach them. So in my talk, what I tried to do was illustrate exactly how our subconscious mind influences our behavior as adults. And we start to fall into grooves or roles and characters that we play out in our day-to-day life. And when we are stuck in a groove and we are living our life from a scripted hymn sheet, it gets in the way of authentic parenting, because the children need parents to show up every single day as themselves and to recognize that the individual needs of every single child, the individual needs of the child on a specific day are going to be different. And so we need parents to look inwards and to work out where they are stuck in grooves and to try and break free from that so that they can parent more authentically and that they can hear their children's cries and needs and respond to those effectively. So I was specifically talking about the Jungian psychotherapeutic philosophies of archetypes and how we all seem to fall into a very small amount of categories. There's only, like 8 different types of character roles that we can fall into, which makes it so easy for us to recognize exactly which one ours is and to start to heal out of it. So that was what my talk was about. The people that would find my talk useful are anybody that's had a childhood, because we normally have a time in our life where we pick which role we are best suited to, or which role is going to give us the most conditional love in our family and in our society. And if people do watch the talk, hopefully it'll be enlightening to start to have a glance inwards to understand that we might not exactly know all of the time why we behave in a certain way. And sometimes when we're confused about our own actions or things are destructive in our houses and in our lives, that this could be the reason why. So then I finished the talk with a little bit of a discussion about meditation and how meditation can help to align yourself and to figure out who you really are deeper than the role that you had to adopt when you were younger. So that's what my talk was about. We'll give another go trying to hear from Sarah.
Right. So my talk, I did talk about healing the inner child. Inner child means anything that we may have encountered during our childhood. And most of these things come back to live with us in different ways. And what happens is we learn to hide these things that hurt us so much. By so doing, we create different mechanisms that protect us. And these mechanisms, obviously, we have the concealed pain, the concealed anger, the concealed fear, or concealed different things, and they manifest themselves every day in our lives in different ways, in our workplace, at home, with our friends. So my talk was mainly about finding that thing, that place, that person that you have concealed within, and discovering that inner person who is different from the outer person that we show to the world every day. And many a times we don't find happiness until we have actually connected to that person. And during the talk, we go through the process of discovering that and reconnecting to that and the today. And towards the end of the talk, I have also a meditation that helps someone to actually be able to connect to that on a daily basis. And the reason why this is important is because children learn from their parents. And if this parent has anger, shame, fear, whatever negative emotions going on, the children will pick up from that. Obviously, they do pick up from a cellular level as well, but majority of it is taught from generation to generation. So my talk was to help them to cut that and to actually be able to observe themselves, to be able to stop and realize what they're passing on to their children, if it is actually needed or not. So it is both for adults, for parents, as well as children or teenagers, actually, teenagers and adults. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everybody. That was really insightful to get a brief synopsis of your talks and to hear from you all. Can we start with, if anybody's got any questions for Sarah? She's just finished speaking to us about her talk. We can ask Sarah some questions and then we can go around the room and do the same thing. We'll just do a Q&A for each of us. I can see everybody's sort of writing down as we're doing the talk, so I was doing the same. It's really good to see that. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to ask you, Sarah, at what stage do you think it's best for people to, who are thinking of becoming parents, to really do this work on healing their inner child?
Actually, I would say, I've never thought of this, but I would say any stage, even before you start planning for a child, because obviously the minute you start planning, most parents plan as far as which school this child will go to, what sort of education they'll give them, or which area they want to live. But before they plan all these exterior, they need to think about, what am I going to pass on to this child when the child comes? Because that child starts adopting these behaviors, these fears, from when they're in their mommy's tummy. So if this mommy can actually start working on this even before she conceives, then she doesn't have to pass this on, because this is the cellular level that most of our fears come from when we get them from our parents. So if they can work on this even before they conceive, and even during the pregnancy, of course, there's going to be so many emotions going on, but if they can actually pick up these things before they start passing anything on to the child, they need to be healed and to know what they're passing on as well. So I would say before would be great. And if not, then today, anytime. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, I love that, and I agree with you totally, because I think, as you say, you know, children just learn from our behaviour, and it would be so wonderful if we could, you know, create more parents who take these things on board, so that we can bring more children in the world who are really, you know, we're not passing this stuff on from generation to generation, and children can live, you know, happier lives going forward.
Precisely. Thank you very much for the question.
Yeah, it's a very nice question. Jill, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I was just going to make an observation as what you were saying there, Sarah and Sue, around how, you know, if prospective parents do this work, then it's, you know, not just about their own self-awareness, but just how much more open will their relationships be within the whole family. You know, they've done the work. It's hard. We know it can be hard. It can also be hugely liberating and beautiful work as well. So, you know, they would enter parenthood through a completely different lens. So the work you do is really great.
Yeah, thanks so much. And thank you, Sarah, for being here. And it was really great to have you, and pleased that we managed to get your sound sorted, because it was so valuable to hear what your talk was all about. So thank you very much for doing that.
Would it be okay for me to ask? I have a question for Olive, actually, regarding dyslexia. You talked about, it wasn't quite like you were saying that you could prevent it. I think you were saying that it can be managed at an earlier stage so it doesn't develop any further. Was that what you were trying to say?
I think it's both of those, Stella, because in 22 years, with all the thousands of people I've worked with, I've always taught them a skill that they had missing, which was to visualize words. So that when you want to go and spell a word like giraffe, which is a nightmare, how many R's and how many F's, you can actually see the word, and then you know it's one R and two F's. And so if we were teaching little kids how to visualize words before they did phonics, and then they can become a phonics detective, so they can work out how the phonics fit into the words, rather than the phonics just floating around in midair. I believe in 22 years, I've got 100% of people I've taught the same skill to. You know, it is ridiculous. So to me, we should be teaching this to real tinies. And so the answer to your question, I think, Stella, is yes to both of them. It's not one or the other.
Because,
and I'm not banning phonics. I'm just trying to ask if we could delay it slightly so that the kids know what words look like. I mean, typically,
or incorporate both of them.
Yeah, exactly. Typically, the first word a child learns.
Your you know, kids who are struggling have a chance, because all kids learn in different ways.
But I mean, if you just ask them, you know, how they are doing spelling. I mean, I had a lad recently who was 8, who I said, "Can you visualize the word lion?" And he went, "Yes." And I went, "What's the letters?" And he went, "L." And I went, "Any more?" And he went, "Nope." And he had for 4 years had visualized one letter in each word. This isn't a great strategy. So I taught him how to do all the letters, and he went, "Oh, I can do that."
Yeah.
So
that's brilliant.
And I have a question for you as well, Stella, while we're talking, is how many of the children that you meet who have got real confidence issues do you find have got underlying learning differences?
No, not necessarily.
Not at all.
Not necessarily, no. Most kids who are quite smart and have no issues with learning whatsoever still struggle with their confidence. And the problem is that young people would normally not come out and say to you, "I don't feel confident," because it's not cool.
Yeah, okay.
They would never admit it. So it's easier for them to perhaps talk about struggling with spelling or with dyslexia or with other areas, but they would never come out and openly admit to you that they are struggling with their body image or with their confidence. which makes it that much more difficult, really, to deal with.
Yeah.
I wonder if they even have the language for describing something like that. You know, they don't have the ability to be able to contextualize it as well.
It might be interesting to find out if there's a language that they have within their circle.
Yeah.
Because they speak an entirely different language from what we speak.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, it should be interesting. That's something I have to research and try and find out. Because
the
processing.
Yeah, it will make it easier to communicate with them.
But I just would wonder whether they actually do talk about that amongst themselves, or whether they actually hide it.
Yeah, I believe they do talk about their issues among themselves, which actually helps if they are struggling and could actually verbalize their feelings to a close friend. That would help, because it's normally when they keep things to themselves that some of them resort to self-harming as an outlet. So it helps if they can actually have that conversation amongst themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, definitely. And be able to talk to parents as well, of course.
Yes. It would be fantastic if they could talk to their parents, but we know that most of them will not.
No, exactly.
I know that when I was going through such problems as a teenager, I didn't want to talk to my parents.
No, me neither. But I wish I would have had a relationship where I felt that I could talk to my parents about things, because it would have helped considerably with a lot of things that I went through. That's for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
So Sue, your talk was very fascinating to hear about. It's about the journey towards pregnancy and being healthy on that journey. So can you just explain, I would like to know what's included in like the holistic approach that you take, and what kind of things you work with people and you help them to get into alignment.
I think a lot of people sort of, when they think about, being able to conceive, because the medical focus, if you like, is very much on the reproductive bits. But as human beings, we're mind, body, and spirit. And so to me, there are really sort of 6 key things that have an impact on fertility. And that's physical health, it's gut health, it's what you're eating, and it's also about exercise and sleep and all of those things around that as well, because all of these have an impact on our bodies. But, it's about our mindset and what we're telling ourselves on a daily basis. And unfortunately, our mind is actually very powerful, and actually our body listens to the thoughts that we have. And so if we're telling ourselves things like, when we're struggling to conceive, I'm never going to get pregnant, your body actually listens to that, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But there's also, for me, it's about, key thing is that, we need to really learn to love ourselves, because when we do love ourselves, then, everything else falls in place. We take care of ourselves and put ourselves first, but also whether our relationship with our partner is in a good place, because if it isn't, then that causes stresses and tensions, and our body takes that on board, and that can get in the way of conceiving and fertility. But then there's also, our lifestyle. How are we living our life? So we're living a life at 1,000,000 miles an hour. We basically, result in we're stressed all the time, but equally, from an energetic point of view, and everything is about energy, we don't allow that space for a new life to actually come into the world. And, if we're living this frantic lifestyle, how are we actually going to allow space to, really take care of our children? We can't sort of continue in that way and, be healthy and looking after ourselves. But one of the factors that's not considered very much is about chemicals and toxins. And there are lots of chemicals and toxins and things that we actually are in, not only in cleaning products in the home, but in furniture and stuff like that, but also on products that we put on our bodies every single day, several times maybe, that still have harmful chemicals, which are known as endocrine disruptors. So, being aware of all of these things, all of these things that, I think a lot of people feel when they can't conceive or looking to conceive, that you can't control the process of conception, but you can control a lot of things that will help to increase your chances of conceiving. And that's really, a lot of things that I've talked about in my talk is about all of those things that you can actually do to really help the process of becoming to a parent, but also key is, you want to have a healthy baby. We all want to have a healthy baby. And I think, it's more important that we want to put ourselves first and take care of ourselves so that we create an environment where we are more likely to have a healthy baby, go through a healthy pregnancy, and go through a much easier childbirth scenario as well.
Fascinating.
Yeah, may I just have a little kind of conclusion here? And, Stella talked about that environmental pressure on children to confirm certain ideals or ideas even. And then Sue mentioned self-love as a very important thing, but I also think self-love in the right way, because that booze might be form of self-love and finally releasing the tension. And that may happen to teenagers as well, that they reach for something, some substances to ease the pressure, which is not the right way and not the right self-love. It's actually quite the opposite. So I would so much agree that we need to teach children values, real values, and that goal set I really love so much, because it's a little bit distracting their attention, right? From that constant self-examination, but also, but also teaching them that they can do things for themselves and achieve. So we all talk about similar topics, similar issues, but from different angles.
Take it from a different angle. Yes, absolutely. I think the whole self-care, self-love, area, call it what you will. I mean, it's massive. It really is massive, but our perception of it is different, isn't it? And what we model to our children as parents really matters. Obviously, my area is the alcohol, almost without understanding that we are modeling that alcohol is hey, it buzzes you, or a few at the end of the day, how many people will come home from work and say, God, I need a drink in front of their young children. Wouldn't it be better if we said, oh, please, can I have a hug? It's so interesting, isn't it? And actually the self-care for us as an adult, as a parent, from receiving the hug, is really so much better than glug, pour a little glass of wine and have that. Absolutely. I think that's a really interesting topic, Carolina, about self-care and how we model that to our children as well. Really interesting.
And here comes in the picture Rupin's topic as well about archetypes, that we actually, instead of really solving the problem, we fall into some kind of habits or pictures that we give about ourselves instead of really starting to know ourselves, right?
Yeah, there's a level of vulnerability that would kind of keep off it. And like you were saying, Jill, there, that instead of being able to ask for a hug, well, some people just have never received that hug, and so they don't know how to ask that hug, and they don't even know that they're allowed to feel comfort outside of the external. And so learning how to give yourself that self-soothing, that turning your attention inwards, asking yourself what your needs are, knowing that the bottle or the glass is the signpost to your need. That's how you're going to know that there's a need there. And it's not just alcohol, which is your specialty when you're talking, but there's even sitting on your phone for an hour on Instagram is like, actually, maybe there's just an underlying need there and you're seeking that connection. And so trying to understand how we have mistranslated from need to solution, and then getting us a healthier translation so that when we feel the need, we can turn towards something that's constructive, healthy, loving, still soothing, but doesn't negatively impact the people around us and our own health and well-being.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's very interesting, isn't it, that intellectually we often know at a logic, prefrontal cortex level, that something isn't good for us, but it's that translation, it's what we've made it mean, that is important here, and how we have to unlearn that in order to be able to then translate into the better areas for our self-care.
Any questions for Carolina about mindfulness?
So what mindfulness, I know it differs person to person and scenario, context to context. Well, what are your favorite mindfulness activities? Let's ask that question. That's easier.
Just like Rupin or Sarah, I also lead meditations.
Yes.
And being present in your body and being aware of yourself is the kind of the basis of being mindful. But then we are able to be present with our feelings and at the same time be present with the feelings and needs of our children, and being able to see the bigger picture and know that it's not just about the moment, it's about life itself. And yes, mindfulness is to be able to step out of our patterns of reacting in a certain way, reacting with anger, sadness, aggressivity, or self-protection. So that's for me mindfulness, awareness, consciousness, reaching a higher level of consciousness.
Yes, yes.
Which is possible. We just don't do it. We fall back into that. I don't even know how to call it actually. Reactivity.
Yeah, patterns. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love everything to do with mindfulness. I'm not an expert on it, but it's part of what I also talk about in my program to teenagers as part of my stress management topic. I mention mindfulness as one of the really good ways of bursting stress. And just like you said, it's just about taking that time off, even if it's just a minute, to just be and breathe and just let yourself feel what you feel and just accept that you are feeling this feeling without beating yourself up about it.
Or escaping.
Yes, or trying to escape it by doing something negative. Just feel the feeling, feel that you are feeling bad, that you don't feel confident, but also understand that confidence is not something that is possible for you to feel every single minute, and that it's all right to have moments when you don't feel confident. And it's just having that ability to understand and accept that is what's going to actually stop the stress from building up.
I think awareness and that ability to be kind to yourself as well is huge. And we all have emotions, if you like, that come up at different times that's triggered by different things. And whilst we're never going to be perfect, it's more about being aware and noticing and accepting, but also, allowing ourselves to just to have that quiet time and just be with ourselves and be okay with that. I think so often we feel like we have to be doing all the time.
Yes. It's amazing, how much little things like this for granted, and you think that everybody should know about this and be practicing it. But unfortunately they don't.
That would be lovely if they were.
They did. The world would be a much better place. And that's why we have to keep doing the job that we do. We have to keep sharing the message and keep talking about things like this, and hopefully
yeah, and you guys are all heroes for your efforts, so thank you very much for today. It was really excellent. I was wondering if Carolina, you might be able to close off for us and just explain how if anybody's watched this, how they can access the content and what they can do to see the full talks. Please, that'd be useful.
So all in all, we had 20 presentations this year, and you can purchase the lifelong access to them. At the moment, we just took off the presentations from the platform where they have been available for the people who purchased the ticket. It should be on Vimeo. So you will be able to purchase the lifelong access, get a password, and watch those presentations on Vimeo anytime when you wish, anytime when you need, when certain topics come up. Let's say you listen first to Sue Ritchie's presentation about conceiving, and when you conceived, then you look for someone who talks about little children, young children, and then teenagers, and so on. And obviously, it's a lot about parenting that is always very useful and valuable. Is that what you meant?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's very smart to do the lifelong access. I think people find that very valuable, and it means that they can watch it at their leisure, and you don't have to watch 20 hours of totally different
Yeah, of course.
talks one after the other. But did you say Vimeo? Is that Vimeo? Is that .com? And then where will they go to actually find the link, or how to access, like, to purchase their password?
To be honest, they are not up yet.
Not yet. So when
Not up yet. We just took it off from the initial platform, but the link will be on the Happy Parent Equals Happy Child Facebook group. And obviously you can approach any of the presenters. So everybody will get the access presentation, every single participant.
Excellent.
So you can put it at some point all on your pages. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That'd be great.
Yes, thank you. So Happy Parent Equals Happy Child Facebook group. We hope that you all join that Facebook group, and we see you inside, and reach out to any of us if you'd like to know more or contact us directly. Please enjoy the talks. They're all fantastic, and Carolina's put together some amazing speakers. So we're about to sign out.
Bye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone. Take care.
Okay.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you, guys.